right. Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's virtual education program at Cancer Sport Community South Bay. I'm Rebecca, the program manager, and I welcome you to this workshop titled Introduction to Strength Training from Home with Annelise Tripp. Before we begin, if this is your first time joining us, CSC South Bay's mission is to ensure that all people impacted by cancer are empowered by knowledge, strengthened by action, and sustained by community so that no one faces cancer alone. We serve the South Bay, Long Beach, and Orange County area all at no cost. Our program includes groups, healthy lifestyle classes, social activities, and educational programs like this workshop. Online education programs are open to all. If you would like to hear more about our services or join a community, please visit our website at cscsouthbay.org. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our workshop speaker. Annelise Tripp is a cancer exercise and senior fitness specialist, passionate about guiding cancer survivors and older adults back into fitness and rebuilding strength for the long haul. You can find more about her or sign up for her free newsletter on her website, www.annelisetripp.com. Thank you so much, Annelise, for being here with us today.
Cool. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for the nice intro. So yeah, like Rebecca said, today I want to show you guys the benefits of strength training from home, and then also show you a little bit of a routine. Like I mentioned in the little workshop description, all you'll need is a resistance band and a chair nearby for the exercise portion. So here we go. I'll start my little presentation here, and if you do have any questions that come up while I'm going through this, just write them in the chat, and Rebecca is checking that, so she'll interrupt me. I can't see it while I'm presenting, but she'll let me know if there's a question and that I can answer. So yeah, let's get started. First, I want to talk about the benefits of exercise in cancer recovery. And it's becoming more and more studied and more known, like how important exercise is both through the treatment process and as you recover, but also even before, just that it can help if you're already strong through that process. So physical activity in general can reduce the risk of various cancers. It improves your health indicators. So all those little numbers that your doctors look at every time you go back for a checkup, physical activity is going to help with all of those. And then also your general quality of life after a diagnosis, just being stronger and fitter is going to help you do all the things that you still want to be keeping up with. It can also help reduce some of the side effects of chemotherapy treatment specifically. So that's been a really neat benefit. Even just doing a little bit every day can really help. And then in the long haul, right, it can help improve your flexibility, your strength, your energy levels after treatments or surgeries. So often after a surgery, especially, you might have a limited range of motion, say in your arm, you can't quite reach as well as you used to. So having a specific exercise program to help with that can help you get all of that range back. And some of you guys might have experienced that too with physical therapy after various surgeries and stuff. So all of those are the benefits, and probably a lot more as well, but those were the highlights. So this workshop specifically is about strength training. There's a lot of different types of exercise, obviously, but today we're going to go into why strength training is a really important component in physical activity. So first off, this one's pretty obvious, right? If you improve your muscle strength, it's going to help you lift yourself and also things more easily. So by helping you lift yourself, I mean things like getting up out of a chair, right? Or going upstairs, anything just moving around is going to be easier if your muscles are stronger. And also you'll be able to lift things more easily, right? If you're buying a watermelon at the grocery store that you want to lift up, or buying that 6-pack of waters, or even if you're going up the stairs with one of those heavy things. If you've got a regular strength training practice, all that stuff is going to be a lot easier to do. So strength training also slows age and treatment-related bone and muscle loss. So just through the natural process of aging, but also through a lot of treatments, your bone density starts to go down, your muscle strength starts to go down, or the actual like muscle fibers, you end up with fewer of them. It's called sarcopenia. But with regular strength training, you can actually slow that decline, which is obviously super helpful. And like I mentioned in the benefits of general physical activity, it can help you cope with the side effects of treatments. So I always like to go through some energy watch outs, because if you're starting any new exercise program, you don't want to end up like this guy, super tired. So you want to be on the lookout for increasing fatigue with any new exercise program. And if you notice it, I don't want you to stop exercising, because that's what a lot of people do, is they'll get tired from a new workout, or they'll overdo it once and then they'll be like, you know what, I shouldn't be doing this at all. But that's not true. What I would rather you do is decrease the intensity or the duration. So by decreasing the intensity, I mean, if you're lifting a 5-pound weight, maybe do a 3-pound weight, or maybe use a lighter resistance band, or maybe just body weight. So decrease the intensity of the exercise or the duration. If your routine is 20 minutes, maybe instead cut it in half and only do 10 minutes, and then see if that helps improve your energy. But don't decrease the frequency. So if you're exercising 3 times a week, continue to exercise 3 times a week, but just make it less intense or shorter. So that way you can maintain your energy for the rest of your life, because that's kind of the point. And if there are days, which there will be days for all of us, that you're too tired to exercise, those days start with really small but frequent bouts of movement. So even if it's just 5 minutes, maybe it's a walk around the block, maybe you just pick one exercise from the ones I'm about to show you and do 1 set. You know, just start with something, and sometimes you might feel more energized just from doing that. Or maybe you don't, but at least you got in something and then you're done. It's really the consistency that's the most important. So to get those benefits we talked about in the beginning over the long term, it's a long-term habit that is going to give you those benefits. So being consistent over months and years with your exercise routine is what's really going to give you those long-term good health outcomes. So I'd rather you do a little bit every day, or a little bit a couple times a week, than a lot on one day and then being too tired to come back to it. So stay consistent no matter how little. Even if it feels like just a little bit, it's really helping. All right, so another big question is, how do I get myself to actually do exercise? Because a lot of us know it's good for us, right? Everyone talks about it these days, how good it is to exercise, but getting yourself to actually do it is completely different, right? Knowing it's good for you doesn't mean you're going to do it. So here's a few tips that I have on what I've seen help people to get started and build that habit. I think the most important thing is actually your mindset. So a lot of times it's hard to get started with working out because you don't feel like you're someone who works out, you know, like I'm not someone who likes to go to the gym. I'm not someone who likes to exercise. That's just, if it's not a part of your identity, it's going to be really hard to do. So you can start by asking yourself, you know, am I someone who works out? And then try over time to chip away at that question and answer it with a big yes. You know, we all can be someone who works out. It's just a matter of working out and making that a part of your identity and a part of your day and your lifestyle. So that one it's a big one, but it's way easier said than done. So first step is just kind of pointing it out and just, you know, have a little think about it if you identify as someone who works out or who exercises or not. And then see if you can work on becoming that person. So that's a huge one. It's a little maybe esoteric, but I find it makes a big difference. Even, I guess I can share some examples with clients of mine where they come to me because they feel really uncomfortable with the idea of working out. They know it's good for them, but they're just not sure where to start, and they don't feel like they're an exercise person. But after a few months or even years of working together, now they feel comfortable with working out, and they feel like someone, I am someone who has a personal trainer, or, I am someone who goes to the gym, or here we're talking about home exercise. I am someone who bought a bunch of weights and resistance bands and I actually use them. So, yeah. So I think I went on a while on that already, but I hope you get the idea that it's really important to change how you feel about yourself and exercise. So then these are just some smaller tips that I find work for some and not others, but see if any of them resonate with you. Like I already mentioned, something is always better than nothing. So if there's a day that you really just don't feel like it, start with just one exercise. And tell yourself, if you still don't feel like it after that one exercise, you're allowed to just stop. But having done that is always better than nothing. And you may find that you want to continue with your routine after that. If you're a really social person and doing things with other people is just always better. It's not the case for everyone. But if you are that type of person, then finding an accountability buddy where you share your exercise plans with each other and kind of check in that you're on track can be really helpful. Or you find a class that you attend with some friends where they're going to ask you, if you didn't show up, why? So that can be a helpful way to get started and stick to it. Also make it fun, find something that you enjoy doing, and then you're going to be much more likely to do it. And I find this is the case both with the exercise itself, but also finding an activity where exercise could help you do it better. So even I don't particularly enjoy strength training itself, right? To be honest, it's kind of boring because you're doing the same thing over and over. But the reason that I love to do it is not to do it itself, but because it makes everything in my life much easier that I love. I love to hike. I love my dog and being able to pick him up. I love to surf and climb. My fiance loves to dance, so I like being able to keep up with that. And I find that if I'm sticking to my regular exercise and strength training routine, I'm able to have a lot more fun doing those things because I can keep up with it. So, making it fun is about the exercise itself, but it's also about the motivation of being able to have fun with other things because your strength is there to help you enjoy it. So then another tip is to schedule it in your calendar. So pick a time and a place that you're going to do it and choose a time of day that you have the most energy. So especially if you're going through certain treatments, your energy levels are going to be different depending on the day and the time of day. So if you can learn about yourself when you have the most energy, for some it might be the morning, for some it might be the afternoon or even the evening. Notice which time of day that is and then schedule in your exercise for that time. If you decide to schedule your exercise first thing in the morning, but you're normally really groggy and tired in the morning, then maybe that's not the best time. So you're kind of setting yourself up for it to be harder. So you want to set it up for yourself so that it's the easiest, the easiest time of day for you to do it when you have the most energy. And with all of these things, stick to what works for you. So everyone is different. Different things are going to motivate different people. So keep trying. You can just keep trying different things until you find out what sticks with you. All right, so now a little more technical stuff before we get into our routine. I just wanted to share with you what a well-rounded exercise program looks like, and then we'll talk specifically about how strength training works. So there's 3 components in a well-rounded exercise program. We have the cardiorespiratory exercise. So this is for the heart, for the lungs. It's things like walking, cycling, jogging, even dancing or circuit training, things that really get your heart rate up to strengthen that heart and lungs and your breathing capacity. And then there's flexibility. So stretching and massage, whether that's self-massage with balls or a foam roller, or going to a massage therapist, and then stretching itself is going to help you stay mobile. So that way you can still, reach down onto the ground to pick something up. Just keeping yourself flexible and mobile is another part of your exercise program. And then the one that we're focusing on today in today's workshop is strength training. So the idea with strength training is that you're challenging your muscles and your bones. So that way they actually get torn apart a little tiny bit, but you're challenging your muscles and your bones. So that way, when you recover, you come back stronger. So with strength training, you want to be working at a level that is more challenging than your day-to-day life. So that way your body has to adapt to that extra challenge. So it's in that adaptation after the workout that you get stronger. And then the reason you need to keep doing it, so you can't just do one workout and then you'll be stronger the rest of your life, is that it's kind of like brushing your teeth, right? You have to maintain that level of challenge to maintain that level of strength. You have to do it every day or every week consistently to keep up that strength, or else your body is just naturally going to go to the place of what it's going to be as strong as it needs to be, if that makes sense. So strength training, we're challenging our muscles and our bones, so that way they'll get stronger for the next workout. So in order to do strength training, there's a lot of exercises that you can do with just body weight to challenge your muscles and your bones. You don't necessarily need equipment for everything, but it does help, especially for upper body work, to have either resistance bands or weights to provide that resistance, to provide that challenge for your muscles and bones to get stronger. So in a well-rounded strength training routine, you want to include movements that involve pushing, movements that involve pulling, leg strength movements, so also pushing your legs and pulling your legs, and then a core strength component to help with connecting everything, but also particularly with helping your back and your spine stay strong. So those different components will help you have a well-rounded, sorry, my dog is excited. Having all those components will help you keep a well-rounded strength. So often you might find in doing all those movements, there might be one area in particular that's a bit weaker than the others. And then that's a good motivation to strengthen that so that you stay balanced. So once you've got your pushing, your pulling, your leg, and your core strength exercises together, what are the numbers you should be going for? So for building strength, you want to do between 8 and 12 repetitions of an exercise. So what a repetition is doing the exercise once is one repetition. So usually you'll repeat it, right, over and over, and you want to be able to do that 8 to 12 times. And by the last repetition, you want to feel like you could maybe do one more, but not much more than that. And that's usually a good level of challenge. So those are repetitions. Then we also have sets, which are groups of repetitions. So say you did 8 repetitions, that would be one set. Then you would take a break or do another exercise. And then you could come back and do another set, which would be another 8 repetitions. So that's sort of the lingo of strength training. And typically for building new strength, that's the range you want to go for. And then in order to get stronger, you do need to do the routine 2 to 3 days a week in order to start to feel the benefits. And ideally you have a rest day in between your routines, because it's in that rest that your body rebuilds and gets stronger again. So it's also really important that you keep increasing the challenge as you get stronger. So if your routine starts to become really easy, then you're no longer challenging yourself and you're no longer strengthening those muscles and bones. So to keep increasing the challenge, you can start by increasing the number of repetitions, and then you can increase the number of sets that you're doing. And then you can also increase the weight. So you can choose a heavier resistance band or a heavier weight, or you'll even see in some of the exercises for body weight exercises, there's usually a way to make it more challenging, like doing things on one leg instead of two, things like that. So you want to kind of keep monitoring your program and your exercises so that you keep feeling challenged. Not to the point, like if we go back to our energy workshops, not to the point where you're feeling more tired later in the day, but just enough so that you feel challenged during your workout, but you're still able to have more energy in the rest of your day-to-day. Okay. So that's it for my presentation. I want to open it up. If there's any questions on any of that, I'll give you guys a minute. And then we'll move into our routine.
Wonderful. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them into the chat, or you can unmute yourself. You can ask Annelise, and of course, throughout the activity as well, you can always ask for modifications or questions too. Wonderful. I think we're ready to get started.
All right, very good. So I'm just setting up my screen here. So yeah, like Rebecca said, if you have any questions on any of the exercises, feel free to let me know. I've got you all on gallery view, so if you want me to be checking your form, you can make sure that you're visible. But no, it is being recorded, so totally fine if you want to turn off your video and just stop me if you have any questions. I always like to say that make sure throughout this that you don't have any pain. So if any pain pops up through any exercise, you can let me know and I can maybe offer some tips to help avoid it, or feel free to just skip the exercise entirely. Also keep in mind, if you are dealing with any current conditions or injuries and there's any movements that say your doctor or your physical therapist have told you to avoid, then definitely skip those as well. Take that advice over what I'm about to share, just because this is more general practice. So yeah, I'll also give a few modifications. So if something feels too challenging, pick an easier modification. If something feels easy, pick a harder one. And yeah, that's my little exercise spiel. So listen to your body and we'll go on from there. Also, you might see my dog running around a little bit. He's napping over there now, but he might join us. All right, so we are going to start with warming up. If you feel comfortable standing, go ahead and stand up. If you prefer to sit, our warm-up will be seated marching. So you're going to lift one knee up and the opposite arm. And if you're standing here, we're going to do that same thing, but standing up. So bring one knee up as high as you can. The opposite arm comes up as well. Just doing nice marching in place, trying to get warm. It's been so chilly and rainy lately, so we might need a little extra to get warmed up. Nice. Very good. Start to feel that blood flowing. Awesome. We're going to do about 3 minutes here. So if this feels good, like a good enough challenge, stay here. But if you feel like a little bit more, we can do a little side to side. So if you've got the space for it, we're going to march side to side across the room, if that feels good. But if you don't have much space, just stick with that first exercise. You're marching. Nice. Getting the blood flowing. Good. All right, and then next, we're going to do a little forwards and backwards shuffling. So only if you've got a nice clear space, you'll take a few steps forward, a few steps back. You might be surprised at how challenging walking backwards can be. But it's a very good warm-up, very good way to balance out the muscles from all of our forward walking. Very good. But again, if you don't have a lot of space, just stick to that marching we did in the beginning. And if you're seated, you can stick to your seated marching. Very good. All right, and then let's all come back together for our big steps. Nice. One knee up, the opposite arm comes up, trying to lift that knee up above your hip. Nice big movements. Good. Awesome. All right. And then let's warm up those shoulders a little bit here. So we'll start with some shoulder rolls. You're going to squeeze those shoulders up to your ears and inhale. And then exhale and relax your shoulders down. Nice. So inhale, squeezing those shoulders up. And exhale, relax. Good. Inhale, squeezing up. Exhale, relax. Nice, keep going with that. Also love this one for letting go of a lot of shoulder and neck tension that we all end up with stress or looking at computers. Good, let's do 2 more of these. Inhale, squeeze. And exhale, relax. Last one. Awesome. All right, and then we'll do some arm circles, warming up that upper body a little more. So you're gonna inhale as you raise your arms up out in front. And then exhale, circle out to the sides. Very good. And here, just stick to a range of motion that feels good for your shoulders. No forcing anything. Just warming up that upper body. Good. Nice. And once more. Good. Awesome. All right. So hopefully you're starting to feel a little warm. Maybe some layers are coming off. Very good. All right. So let's get started with our chair and our strength routine. Our first exercise is going to be for the legs. It's called a sit to stand. So you can imagine maybe where we're going with this. You'll start seated with your feet between hip and shoulder width, sitting up nice and tall, and you're going to lean your weight forward over your feet, press up into your heels to stand up, nice, and then nice and controlled, sit back down into the chair. So if that felt pretty challenging, if you have a seat with arms, feel free to use the arms to help press you up. Another option is to get a higher chair or stack some books on the chair so that you're a little higher up. And those are 2 ways to make it a little bit easier. And then, so we'll start with this, and in the next round, I'll show you some ways to make it harder if that felt pretty easy. So let's all start with this one together. So hands at your chest, lean your weight forward over your feet, press up through those heels to stand up, nice. And then nice and controlled, you're gonna lower back down. Yeah, nice. So no plopping, right? We're controlling the way up and controlling the way back down. Nice. There's 2. We're going to aim for 10. Good. Nice and controlled back down. There's 3. Good. And nice and controlled again. 4. Awesome. So that nice controlled lower is also really helping to get stronger, because you got to use your muscles in both directions on the way up and the way down. Good. That's 5. You might learn quickly about me that I'm not the best at counting. But we'll do roughly 10, right? We've got a range, 8 to 12. Good. Nice. Let's aim for 3 more. You got this. Hold your core nice and strong as well here to help support that back. Good. And let's do 1 more. Nice. And then rest. Perfect. All right, so that's lower body exercise number 1. Next, we're going to do a hip flexor lift. So if you're remaining seated today, what that's going to look like is lifting 1 knee up, holding that knee up for 3 seconds, and then nice and controlled, bringing it back. And if you're good with standing, then I'll have you stand next to your chair. And you can hold on to the back for a little bit of balance support if you need it. And then you're going to lift 1 knee up as high as you can, but we're going to hold it for 3, 2, 1, and then lower back down. So kind of a slowed down version of our march in the beginning. And we'll stick to doing that same side 10 times in a row. So lift that knee up, keep the standing leg straight, and then nice and controlled back down. Good. There's 2. Knee comes up. Keep that standing leg straight. We're working your core as well as the front of your hips. Good. And lower. Nice. 3. Lift. Get that knee higher than your hip if you can. Standing leg is straight. Nice. And lower. Awesome. Here's 5. Go ahead again. This one starts to add up right again. Good. Nice. We got 5 more here. Standing up nice and tall. Good. And lower. 4 more. 3, 2, 1. And lower. Nice. 3 more. 3, 2, 1. Lower. Good. If you want to work on your balance, feel free to not hold on. 3, 2, 1. And lower. Nice. Last one here. 3, 2, 1. And lower. Good. Awesome. All right, so now we got the other side. Same thing. Again, you can hold on if you want, or just work on that balance with your hands on your hips. Bring that right knee up. 3, 2, 1, and lower. Nice. Here's a chance to notice if one side is maybe stronger or easier than the other. And lower. Good. And go ahead again. Standing tall on that straight leg. And lower. Nice. Lifting up, knee comes higher than your hip. Good. And lower. Very nice. 3, 2, 1. And lower. Good. We've got 5 more. You start to feel that standing leg burn a little bit. Core working. Good. Lower down. 4 more. You got this. 3, 2, 1. And lower. Good. And go ahead again. 3, 2, 1. And lower. Nice. And again. 3, 2, 1. Lower. And last one here. 3, 2, 1. And lower. Very good. Okay. So if you've got some water and you want to take a quick water break, go for it. I've got my band here, so we're going to do those same 2 exercises for a second set. But if it felt easy, I'm going to show you a way to make it a little harder with your bands. But if you felt like that was challenging enough for you, then feel free to stick to the band-free version. So if we want to add a little extra resistance to our sit to stand, I'll have you put the band underneath your feet. I'll tilt you down just a little, make sure you can see. All right. So you've got the band spread out in front of you, and then you're going to actually stand on the band on either side. Then you're going to hold both ends of the band on either side of your foot. So now this is going to give you some extra resistance as you stand up. So with a nice strong core and a straight back, you stand up, but now you've got to push against that resistance of the band as well. Good. And then lower back down. So if you didn't feel much resistance from that, you can also walk your hands a little closer to your feet to start. That'll give you a little more resistance. Or if it felt like too much, you can have your hands further away. I hope that made sense. All right, so now that we're set up, let's go for 10. So lean your weight forward over your feet, press up into those heels to stand. Nice, good. And then nice and controlled again. Back down, really good. There's 1, here we go again. 2, nice. And 3, very good. And with resistance bands, you can always use a lighter band to make it easier, or a heavier, thicker band to make it harder. So you can choose your level of challenge here. Nice. Good. Let's go for 4 more. 4, nice. 3. Good. 2. Nice. And last one. Good. Awesome job. So then for future reference, if you start to feel really strong in that, the next level is to do that same thing on one leg. So you don't have to try it now, but if you're working on it and it feels easier, you would have one leg straight out in front and try to stand up just on that one leg and then nice and controlled back down again. So that's just to give you some examples of where you can go to keep challenging yourself. Okay, so we have that hip flexor lift again. So you can do the seated version, like I showed you at first, where you do the same movement, but you're sitting in the chair. Or if you're joining us standing, I'll show you a way to add some extra resistance. So again, we're going to stand on the band, but this time you're going to stand on it with one foot, fold the band over that foot, and then you're going to stand on both ends with your other foot. Does that make sense? So the band is kind of wrapped around one foot and you're standing on the other side. But if using no band was challenging enough in the last round, then stick to that. All right, so then we have the same movement. You're going to raise that foot that's wrapped in the band, kind of pulling against the resistance of your band, and then nice and controlled, back down again. Good. Hope that made sense. Feel free to stop me and ask if it didn't. It's set up there. It looks like those of you I can see got it. Good. You're lifting. There's that brief hold, and then lower back down. Good. Nice. 6. Good. 7. Very nice. 8. 9. Good. And one more. 10. Nice. All right. So then let's set up on the other side. You start again with that band flat on the ground. And now you'll step on the band with one foot. Did I do that right? Yes. So you'll step on the band with one foot, and then you're going to fold the band over that foot, and then step on both ends. So now you've got the band wrapped around your other foot and pinned to the ground. And then here we go again. Let's bring that knee up. Now you're pulling against the resistance of that loop and back down again. Good. And remembering to, if you want, you don't have to use the band if without the resistance was challenging enough. And then if you also want to work on your balance, you can just keep your hands at your hips. Good. Nice, and keeping your standing leg straight and strong. Good. Let's do 5 more. Awesome, getting that knee up above your hip. Good. 3 more. Nice. 2. Good. And last one. Nice. Very good. All right. So now we're done with the band on the ground. We'll give our legs a little break and move on to our upper body. So next we're going to do a chest press. So this exercise strengthens your chest and your arms. And here you can also do it seated or standing. Both will work. You're going to wrap the band around your upper back behind you. So it's wrapped here. And then take the band in your hands and we're going to press straight forward. So the seated version is the exact same thing, but you'll be sitting here nice and tall. So whichever you feel more comfortable with. So you can try 1 rep or 2. If it feels really easy, you can grab a heavier band. If it feels really hard, grab a lighter one. And here we go. We're going to do 10 of these. Yeah, nice. Looks good. Those of you I can see, awesome. Good. Try to think about keeping your shoulders down away from your ears. So don't let them creep up. Good. So that nice, good, tall posture. You can think about growing tall through the crown of your head. Nice. Very good. Let's do 3 more. Awesome. 2, nice. And last one. Very good. All right, so that was our pushing movement, if you remember those definitions from the presentation. Now we're going to work on pulling. Okay, so my favorite pulling exercise is a row. If you happen to have a doorknob near you, or a sturdy piece of furniture, you could hook your band around that, and then you'll stand tall and pull. If you prefer to be seated, you can also do the exact same exercise seated. So first, I'll give you a moment to look around. If you have something sturdy to attach, yeah, nice. So you can see that's perfect, good. And if you don't have something to attach it to, I have another option. But if you are attaching, make sure it's sturdy, right? Make sure it's not going to move or get pulled towards you. So I'll show you real quick the version if you don't have something to attach it to, is you'll have a seat and stand on the band and then pull from there. All right, so it looks like everyone found the setup. So once you're set up there, it's the same cues, the same things to think about for both exercises. You're going to keep your back nice and straight. Roll your shoulders back and down, so don't let them creep up. And then you want to pull from your back muscles, squeezing the shoulder blades together behind you, and then nice and controlled lower back. Yeah, very good. Looks good, guys, from what I can see. Yeah, nice. Remembering really to keep those shoulders down. That's usually the biggest thing I see is people creeping their shoulders up. So keep those nice and down away from your ears. Standing tall. Good. We got one more. We'll get us to 10. Nice. Very good. All right, so let's move along. We're going to do a second set of both of those exercises to give you a chance to practice. So let's come back to that chest press. You're going to wrap the band around your upper back. Set up holding those bands here. Very good. All right, and then when you're ready, pressing straight forward, good, and then nice and controlled back again. Awesome. Yeah. Looks good. Nice. Keeping those shoulders down again. Awesome. That's it. 5, good. 5 more. You got it. Nice. 4, good. 3, nice. 2, and last one. Very good. All right, you guys got that one down for sure. So let's come back to those rows. You can find that anchor point again, hooking the band around, or this time I'll demonstrate with the seated version if you don't have a place to hook it. So set up with whichever one you did last time. All right, if you've got the band around your feet, you're gonna slightly lean forward, keeping your back straight. And then keep those shoulders away from your ears and pull those elbows back behind you. Nice, and then nice and controlled back down, good. As you pull those elbows back, your shoulders stay down. You squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you. And then nice and controlled lower, good. Nice, and keeping in mind here what I said about making sure you're challenging yourself. So if it feels like this band is pretty light, it's pretty easy, then maybe the next time you try this on your own, you try it with a heavier band. Or if it feels pretty challenging, stick to this band. Nice. 4 more. 4, 3, 2, good, and last one. Awesome. All right, nicely done, guys. So we're almost there. We are gonna do 2 more strength exercises, and then we've got a cool down stretching piece. So next 2 moves are for your arms specifically. We're gonna do bicep curls and tricep extensions. So bicep curls, we can do this both standing or seated. It looks very similar. For the standing version, you're gonna stand on your band again, and you're holding kind of the ends of your band. If you're seated, it's pretty similar. You're gonna sit and stand on the band, but you'll have to hold the band a little bit lower. So for both exercises, we're curling. So you keep your elbows in close to your sides, and then you're gonna raise your hands up to your shoulders. Perfect. And then nice and controlled back down. So here's the seated, and then here's your standing version. Good. Nice. Finding a comfortable grip with that band. Those shoulders are in place back and down. So we're also sneakily strengthening the shoulders and our posture muscles here. Standing tall. Good. Nice. So these are the muscles that are going to help you pick up that heavy watermelon at the grocery store. Nice. And last one. Good. Awesome. All right. And then our last exercise is tricep extensions. So actually, again, I know I got up, but we're going to have to stand on the band one more time. So here's our standing version. We're going to move into what's called a hip hinge. So you want to think about pushing your butt back and keeping your back straight. So you're hinging just at the hips. So you're forward at this kind of like a 45-degree angle forward, holding the bands in your hand, and then you're going to push those bands back, straightening out your arms behind you, and then nice and controlled back again. Yeah, good. This one's a little tougher, right? There's a lot of muscles working to hold the position. But the idea is that you keep your back nice and straight. Yep, looks good. And then you're bending and straightening those elbows to target the muscles at the back of your arms. And if you're doing the seated version, similar to that bicep curl, you'll have a seat here, and then you're gonna do that same movement. Your hips you're kind of hinged forward and straightening those arms back behind you. Nice. Probably done about 10 by now, so let's do just 2 more. Shoulders stay back and down, back stays nice and straight. Good. All right, and come back up. Nice job. All right. So to make sure we remember everything, we're going to do the bicep curls and tricep extensions one more time. If you've got it in you. And then we'll stretch. All right, so bicep curls first. You can do this seated or standing, whichever feels better. Yep, standing on the bands. Stand nice and tall. Your shoulders are back and down in that good posture. Good. Very nice. Yep, looks great. Good. Nice. 2 more. And then last one. Great job. All right, you can stay in the same position, but I'm going to turn sideways. It's a little easier to see. You push your butt back, coming into that hip hinge position. Your back stays nice and straight. And then you're going to push those bands back, straightening out your arms behind you. Again, keeping those shoulders back and down. Good posture. Nice. That's it. We'll do 4 more. Squeezing those shoulder blades together in the back as you reach back. Nice. And last one. Good job. All right. We are done with the bands. We'll do a couple of stretches to cool down and finish up. You can set your band aside. And we'll start with a nice stretch for your upper back and your shoulders. So you'll turn your chair sideways. You'll place your hands on the back of your chair. And you're going to walk your feet back and then let your head drop between your arms. Drop that chest down. And your hips are kind of stacked over your ankles at this point. So you might feel a nice stretch through the back of your legs, through your shoulders, through your upper back. Your arms are nice and straight. Yeah, nice. Breathing into that. And it should feel like a nice opening through your shoulders and your back. Very good. Awesome. And slowly come up from there. Good. And then we're going to do a nice stretch for your chest next. So for this one, you'll have to find like a doorway, or even just with your arm against the wall, it'll work. So you're going to place one elbow straight out to the side with your elbow at 90 degrees. And then you'll line your forearm up with the door frame, or even just against the wall. Then you'll step 1 foot forward so that your elbow and forearm get pulled back and you get a stretch through the front of your chest. So it might be easier if I'm facing this way. You can imagine my forearm is against the doorway. I'm leaning forward to stretch through my chest and the front of the shoulder. Nice. Yeah, that's it. Actually, twist you a little bit. And you can see it here. Good. My dog Doji wants to join for this one. Okay. Nice, that's it. And then we'll do the other side. So for you, you can turn around, face the other way, and stretch the other side. I'll just keep facing you here. Nice, kind of letting your breath slow down a little bit as we wind down and stretch. Good. Nice. All right, and then our last one will be a nice side stretch. You can do this one seated or standing, either way. You're going to reach one arm up and over, reaching through the fingertips to stretch and open up that whole side. Breathing into that side. Nice. Good. And then switch to the other side. Good. Nice. And bring that down. Very good. All right, so we are all set. I left a couple minutes. I think we've got about, 4 or 5 minutes here if anyone has any questions or thoughts. And yeah, like Rebecca said, I'll be doing a monthly class from here on out. And then if you want, I have a free blog and a free newsletter with some other tips and resources there. So you can check my website for that. But yeah, are there any questions?
If you have any questions, you can put them into the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. So this Annelise, thank you so much. She'll be providing the same time, third Thursday at 11. So next month in April, that'll be April the 20th at 11 a.m. Instead of more of educational presentation, she'll just focus on the class. If you go to our website calendar, if you don't have resistance bands. She did provide some options through Amazon that are pretty cost effective. But yeah, any questions? Everyone feeling good and confident? Not tomorrow because you need recovery, but the next day, right? So you can do this,
Exactly.
you can do this on Saturday. Okay, wonderful. And interested, I did put Annelise's website into the chat. So she mentioned she does have a free newsletter. You can check out her website as well.